What better manager to face Brentford than Thomas Frank, eh? Been there for the last 9 years, knows literally everything there is to know about that football club. But sometimes that does work against you, doesn't it? Like, we've seen it so many times where managers face their former clubs and the former clubs do go and win. Keith Andrews, though, on the flip side of that, will know everything there is to know about Thomas Frank, having worked together so closely for so many years. It's going to be such an interesting matchup on that sense, isn't it?
It's Brentford versus Brentford Light. That's what it is. And, at the moment, yeah. Look, Frank should know pretty much all the players inside out from that Brentford team.
He signed them all.
He signed them all pretty much. Like, there should be no surprises for Thomas Frank in this game. He should know what Brentford want to try and do. They pretty much haven't changed much about the way they play. I think they're a bit more conservative since he left. I think last season they did start to play a bit more offensively, albeit they are a counter-attacking team in general. They did try and attack teams more last season. I think this season they've gone back to just being super conservative and just hitting teams over the top on the counter. That's like their main way of, and obviously set pieces. That's like their main way of trying to score. So I think obviously he'll know what they're trying to do. Hopefully he'll have a plan in place to stop Brentford. But then again, Brentford will know what we're going to try and do as well, because they're going to know how Frank thinks.
The thing is,
they're going to know Frank inside out.
The thing is with the tactical setups in this game, why I'm even more worried that Frank might go a bit more pragmatic and defensive in this game, because he knows what a threat they've got on the transition with Otara, with Kevin Sade, with Igor Thiago. And he might just say, look, we can't give them any transitional moments. And if we push forward, they're naturally going to get those transitional moments. So I think he'll know that Brentford struggle to break down teams in a deep block or teams that make it hard for them and leave no gaps for them. So that does make me think that Thomas Frank might go more defensive in this game.
Yeah, which, look, it could work. I'm not saying it's not a bad plan to get all 3 points in this game, but it's just we've been so beaten down by negative, poor, stodgy performances at home. Even if he does believe that's the best way, I really want to see just some excitement. But I understand that is possible. Maybe he thinks as well, the team we've picked, is there enough aerial kind of strength to battle against set pieces? That you got to worry about that. Brentford are very strong, big players. They put a lot of pressure from you from set pieces at Coyote as well. Unbelievable long throw. Delap-esque long throws.
Well, better than Delap, those throws, man. They're incredible.
He's got extremely strong long throws from corners. They pile in the players. They got big monsters. Is Frank going to want to match him? Go for as many strong big players as possible to stop Brentford getting the advantage there. So on that basis, you've got to look at the team we've played and says, is Frank really going to put Simmons and Bergvall and Tell all together? And do we have a bit of a disadvantage from set pieces there? Also, as you say, Sharda, he likes to make these runs from inside the fullback behind the other centre back. He's very quick, obviously really dangerous once he gets into the opposition penalty area as well. That's something we've got to really watch out for. And Henderson obviously is having a great season. Him and Damsgaard in the middle got brilliant passing range. So if we don't stop them, there's definitely an ability for them to create chances even from open play. And obviously we've already spoken about Igor Thiago. Utara is a great dribbler. He's one who's seemed to earn a penalty every other week with his dribbling. So they do have a lot of threats. They absolutely do have a lot of threats, and they've really shown this season. Doesn't matter how many players or managers or coaching staff they lose, their recruitment's strong. The club exactly know what they want from a manager, and they know what they want with the players. There's still that holistic approach. It hasn't gone anywhere, and they just keep going from strength to strength. I don't know if they're better than last season, but they haven't really missed a step, to be honest.
No.
They're really good.
I think they're on a similar level.
Yeah, they're just as good. In just given the fact they lost Wissa, Mboimo, and Frank, and all the coaching staff, their recruitment being
and all their top players as well.
Yeah, Wissa and Mboimo.
And Norgard, their captain.
Norgard as well, yeah, absolutely right. They've replaced them fantastically.
Goalkeeper
really well.
they lost.
Yeah.
They lost so many players. It's crazy.
But that shows the value of having really smart recruitment. You know, Flecken goes bringing Kelleher, and Allgard goes bringing Henderson. Mbeumo goes, they've got Utara in. Obviously, Thiago they had already, but they've just trusted him. They've trusted their previous recruitment to replace Wissa. So it's been top notch from Brentford, and it goes to show you don't need to spend millions and millions to get the right fit for your team. I think there's the evidence of that.
Yeah, it depends what kind of team you're trying to create, to be honest. I think if you're Brentford and you're happy to float around at mid-table, then yeah, fair enough. But if you're Spurs, it's probably a different kettle of fish, because we want to break into that top four and eventually start challenging the league title. I think when we're trying to rebuild our squad and trying to get those top quality players to fight at the top, I think, Arsenal have proven you do need to spend a hell of a lot of money to get there.
You do, but obviously you need to invest. But I think Brighton and Bournemouth and Brentford all showing, because at the end of the day, those are the clubs we're going to be looking at to sign their players. So it goes to show you there is talent to be had, that you don't have to spend hundreds of millions to get that talent, because they're doing it. They're replacing their players. They're selling their player for 100 million, signing a replacement for 20. And they're just as good. They're just coming in and being just as effective for what they want. And then they'll go probably for big money. So I think those are good lessons to learn from these clubs. I don't think
you can build a whole squad like that, though. You can sign one or two players, fine, but, it's not like they're fighting for Champions League or anything like that.
It could be if they don't lose their players all the time. Not Brentford, maybe, but I think Brighton and Bournemouth, they look at what Brighton's team could be if they didn't keep selling their players. But
you're saying they replaced them with equally as good players as well, so so why aren't they fighting for Champions League then?
Because they keep losing their best players.
Yeah, but they keep replacing them for equally as good players, you're saying.
Yeah, but they're not building on their squad. They keep losing it and just replacing it. So at a certain level, let's say in the mid-table, just below the European spots, and they need to really challenge, they need to keep adding to it, not replace it. You know what I mean? If they had Caicedo and Baleba and all these players and Cucurella left back, maybe they could challenge for Champions League spots. But they keep having to just replace, and they can't. They've got no kind of stability in terms of that sense. They're keeping refreshing the squad, and that's part of their model, I guess. Maybe one day they will. By the way, I wouldn't be surprised if one day they do start challenging for Champions League. But right now, they're focusing on keep replacing the players they're selling. So you can't really start challenging the top teams until you're in a position to say no to selling your players.
But surely by now they are in a position to say no with the amount of money they've made. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's part of their model at the moment. I think that's the aim. But I don't know if they're there yet. Maybe they will be in soon.
But back on the game, I mean, Brentford, as much as we've sung their praises this season, away from home they have been pretty poor, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they've won one away game all season, losing.
At West Ham.
Yeah, and they've lost every single other game. And no matter if the opposition is pragmatic, the opposition go and attack them, they do seem to be a kind of soft touch away from home. Albeit I thought they were decent against Arsenal, but still, Arsenal was still the much better side. Yeah,
and I think that's, teams do usually just go for them when they're at home, because they see them as inferior, and a lot of the time the other teams have superior quality. So they obviously have a way of playing which, for some reason, they get to suffocate the opposition more at home, and it seems to work, especially against bigger teams. Well, it has worked against bigger teams this season at home, but away from home, it seems to be getting undone. But the last team that came to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium also had a terrible away record, and they came with all 3 points. So maybe the answer is just don't concede 2 goals in the first 6 minutes, and maybe you'll be all right. But I think it's just so important. Make sure we're on the front foot from the first minute. Make sure we're on top of them. Make sure we're being aggressive. Don't give them chances to breathe, and show your quality. And at the moment, it's been few and far between, but it is so important in this game that we do that.
Can we not just see what Thomas Frank says in a press conference all throughout the season and actually put that into action on a pitch, as in be aggressive, go after them from the first minute? You know what I mean? He keeps saying these things, but we don't see them in action. Can we not see it, please? Just for once, from the off, at the top, get the fans on your side.
He keeps saying we're going to come flying out the traps, and it hasn't happened.
Not once.
So actions speak louder than words. You can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk.
Yeah,
and that's the moment. That's been a kind of story of Thomas Frank at the moment at Tottenham. He says a lot of things, but at the moment, it's not really what we're seeing.
Yeah. The reality is, no matter who's kind of been the Brentford manager, also basically been Thomas Frank, but you always kind of know you're in a game. And I feel like we have I know we've beaten them quite a few times at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but we've always struggled to beat them. I remember last year we kind of blew them away. Was it last year or the year before? We blew them away in like the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, but still, like, for the rest of that game, it's not like we were scintillating or anything. I thought Brentford gave as good as they got the rest of the game. We just kind of blew them away in a 10-minute period, didn't we?
Last season we battered them. It should have been a lot more, but they did have a period where I remember Vicario had that handball, didn't he?
What was the year that we beat them in like the first 5 minutes of the second half?
That was 2 years ago.
That's the game I'm thinking of.
We beat them 3-2. And that game was when Morpie did the celebration to Maddison, and they got in a bit of a thing. But last season
last year was 3-1.
Yeah, we comfortably beat them. But Vicario, I remember, I think that it was at 2-1. Vicario handballs the ball outside the box, remember? And nothing. We got away with that one massively.
Yeah, we went 1-0 down in the first minute to Mbeumo.
That was a period where, like, 3 games in a row they scored in the first minute. Brentford, they were just going for this mad run, and then we beat them last season when we were injury ravaged, and we just about scraped a win away at their place.
Yeah,
2-0.
Yeah,
that wasn't a pretty performance, but we got the win. But yeah, they always give you a tough game, Brentford. They always have, ever since they've come to the Premier League. They've always found a way just to keep themselves very competitive in these games. But there's no reason in terms of the quality that we shouldn't be able to overcome them and be better than them. But yeah, it's just this is a game which is just written for Brentford to stick the boot in at the moment, kick us while we're down.
That's what I'm worried about.
It's just a headline writes itself, doesn't it?
That's what I'm worried about. I'm just looking at this game, and as much as you look at the quality of the two sets of teams, I am really worried that we don't win this game, just because of the form that we're on, and the story. The storyline of Thomas Frank being at Brentford for 9 years. He finally gets his big move. He joins Tottenham, and Brentford come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and beat them. It's just written in the stars. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and obviously they'll go above us if they do end up beating us. They're right now 13th in the league. We're 11th, so
that adds even more to the story. That adds even more.
We're on same points at the moment. We're better with the goal difference. In terms of like this season, how they've been playing, they've played a lot of basically strong defense. They seem to be playing like 4 centre backs a lot of the time across the back line. Very strong, kind of a team geared up basically to work with set pieces, be aerially strong, not be intimidated by the opposition. But I also feel like our wingers, if we can get them isolated, could get a lot of joy against their fullbacks. That could be something that we need to focus on, and sure enough, we do like to focus out wide. So maybe in this game, maybe that could work. I also feel like, though, spamming in crosses is exactly what Brentford will want. I also feel like that's the bread and butter of their defenders. They live for like just heading things away and getting their noggin on something. So that's also something like we need to have a bit more guile about us. But their plan of attack is quite simple a lot of the time. It's bait the press, get the ball to Henderson to play a long ball over the top to Thiago Sade, or find Damsgaard in between the lines of the midfield and the defence, get him to very quickly turn and play a through ball to their forwards into space. A lot of the time to Sade, but also could be to Utara or to Thiago as well. Damsgaard is very dangerous. If you allow him any sort of time and space in the middle, he can pick that lock. He's shown that time and time again over the last year or so, and he just floats in between that space between the midfield and defence. He's been brilliant.
I feel like he's not as dangerous this season as what we saw from him last season.
Yeah, I think last season they were playing through him a lot more. This season, I think Henderson's the one who they seem to be playing through. He's the one they rely on to get those passes. But Damsgaard just plays a very specific role, just to facilitate progression and just play those defining through balls to the front foot, to the front three.
So I'm looking at his stats.
They make those runs. Sade especially makes that run in between the fullback and defence. It's hard to stop sometimes.
I'm looking at his stats, Damsgaard. He got 11 assists last season. That's how instrumental he was for them. Only one so far this season. So I think that goes even more to prove the point. What you're saying about Jordan Henderson, albeit I don't think Jordan Henderson has got too many assists this season. It's all about their front three. Let's be real. Like, all three of them are just so dangerous and so pacey and so strong as well. Like Kevin Sade and Ouattara, I think they're up there for like most fouls committed. They're always committing fouls, those guys. And our fullback's going to have their wits about them. That's why I'm a bit worried about playing Pedro Porro in this game and getting him high up the pitch. Like, we're going to get caught out massively if we do that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's risk versus reward for in football. And in my opinion, with the quality we have, do you risk being caught out once or twice for the sake of having domination and quality in your team to score goals against them? Or is it the opposite? Do you minimise risk and then you go into the game in
well, I know which way Thomas Frank's thinking about it.
That's what I'm worried about. I mean, he could go. I'm hoping he doesn't. He keeps saying, "I want to play front foot, attacking football, aggressive football." I want to see that. I want to see us back ourselves. I want to see us. All right, you're right. They absolutely have their strengths, but do we not have more strengths? Why not? Why can't we be more threatening? Why can't we have more quality? Why can't we focus on ourselves rather than, okay, you risk Brentford getting in for the sake of having domination against them, and maybe they'll risk conceding goals from us if they sit back too much and we can give us control. That's what we should be focusing on, controlling them and creating chances ourselves. We shouldn't be focused on, okay, what if Brentford getting behind? We should trust ourselves. But then again, you could argue, and that is what Danny argues and other players, we aren't good enough to trust ourselves. So we have to be this pragmatic. We have to focus on stopping them, because if we rely on ourselves to have the quality, we're not going to have it. So
we are though.
I'm saying, but that's the argument of some people.
Yeah,
you could say that. Maybe is that what Frank's thinking actually? Because you know what, he was chatting in the press conference and he was talking about was quite. I didn't like what I was hearing. He was saying he was comparing his. He's had poor start. Well, he said he's going for a tough period now at Tottenham, and he was saying he was comparing it to a poor start he had at Brentford, and he said during this period we had Maupay out, Watkins out, and Ben Rama, they're all injured, and we didn't have our first choice attacking players, and we were struggling, and we weren't getting the points, and then they came back and they started to click, and it was we found the some attacking impetus. And he said you could compare it to now. We have some attacking players out, and and it hasn't quite clicked. I'm like, after I was listening to it, I was like, so basically, are you trying to say you just don't rate the attackers that we currently have fit? Is that what he's trying to say? And that really worried me a bit. And that kind of tells me maybe that is why he's playing how he is. Maybe he just doesn't rate what we have. And look, maybe he's right, because they haven't really shown much. Maybe it is quality, but I fundamentally believe these players don't have enough quality to show more. I mean, I'm the worrying thing I have is I'm starting to believe he thinks that.
Yeah, I mean, you could take Mikel Arteta as an example, right? Last season, they had a few injuries in the attacking section. I think Odegaard was out injured, and I can't remember who else was out injured. They had a few injuries. Kai Havertz was out injured, and they went like super, super pragmatic in that moment, and they ended up getting a few 1-0 wins. They dropped a few points in a couple of games as well, and that's the way he deals with it, and that's the way he thinks of it. And I was thinking back when Arteta was doing that, look, you've still got more than enough attacking talent to go and take games to teams. Why are you doing that? And I think it's pretty much more or less the same here with Thomas Frank, but it's not an excuse, man. You've got more than enough attacking talent in your team to go and take the game to the opposition. You've got Randall Kolo. You look at the players that are on screen, yeah? They're all very good players. Javi Simmons is a very good player. Mohamed Kudus is a very good player. You've just bought them in the summer for a total cost of 100 million. You've got Randall Kolo Muani, who's on loan, who's shown that he can get goals in his previous...
Regular in the France squad.
Regular in the France squad. He was starting for Juventus last season. He's been, playing for PSG before that. Matisse Tell, an up-and-coming player alongside Wilson Odobert, up-and-coming player. Like, there's more than enough attacking talent in that team. And you can't say it just all falls apart because Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison is out injured and Solanke. Like, it's ridiculous.
I agree, and that's what I'm worried about from what I'm hearing from Thomas Frank in his press conference. He's already comparing it to how he had these 3 players missing for Brentford. So is he already starting to kind of imply, like, we just don't have the attacking talent in the team? Is that what's happening here? I just hope he trusts them more. I hope he relies on them more. But he's not.
Who's
we're not
he not trusting here? Because three of the front 4 that we've picked here are all signings that signed under him. So who's he not trusting here?
Great question.
It can't be just because he doesn't trust the left-hand side.
I agree. But that's what he's saying. He's kind of implying. He's not outright saying it. But he's also saying we want to play front foot football. He said against Arsenal, the plan was to play front foot football. And there was just no evidence of that. So maybe it is the players are just adapting to how he wants to play, and we haven't quite got it right yet. But then again, he does keep chopping and changing the team, changing the system, and we're just getting no stability. So maybe he's just a victim of his own tinkering, and if he just has some stability, maybe his plan. Maybe we would see more of his plan come to fruition.
Yeah, look, Arsenal's not exactly the best example of it because I'm sure Man City wanted to play front foot football against them and they ended up in a low block and forced back. And I think, maybe it was the same for us. Maybe the intention was to do it, but I doubt the intention was to do it because we haven't seen it in any other game. So it's the other games that worry me a lot, even though, Arsenal's Arsenal and we got battered 4-1. But when you're looking at the other games, particularly at home, all these home games, you're not seeing this kind of front-footed, free-flowing teams that want to break teams down on a consistent basis throughout 90 minutes of football. So we need to start seeing that, and this weekend it needs to start happening, but I don't think it will. The way I see it is basically what I said before, is that he knows the threats that Brentford have. He knows if we start to play this front-footed football in this game, he thinks probably Brentford will pick us up. He picks teams and picks lineups and pick formation to counteract the opposition, and that's exactly what the opposition want, is to leave gaps in behind, and I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. I'm worried it's going to be another just performance where we're struggling to create, struggling to get on the front foot, and just basically so worried about the Brentford's front three getting in behind that we neglect how we want to play. Maybe if we do that, we might win on a set piece, or we might win with a bit of luck. But I just envisage another, whether it be a win or not, we might get the result, but whether we do or not, I just envisage another performance which is going to be uninspiring. But I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope this is the game it clicks. And to be fair, look, as much as it wasn't a good performance against Newcastle, hopefully we gained a bit of momentum getting that equaliser. You saw a bit of togetherness at the end of that game with the team. Maybe that's the spark that could ignite this team and get the fire in them to start a good run of form. That's the positive side. Maybe that's what we're going to see on Saturday.
It can give you a bit of confidence the way that we, clawed ourselves back in that game.
Yeah, you got to hope so. Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes that's what it takes. It just needs a bit of luck. It needs something to spark into life. And maybe that draw against Newcastle will be it. You saw a bit of shithousery at the end of the game, and Romero taking it to the Newcastle, and there was just a bit of togetherness, a bit of fight about them, and a bit of a never say die attitude about them. So maybe we take it into this game and we start with a bit of confidence and momentum, and we don't start so scared. But I guess the problem is, do the crowd play a part? If we go down early in this game, will they start to get on their back again? Probably. Will the anxiety start to set in? So I think that's why it's so important we do get off to a good start in this game and just take an early lead to settle everyone down, and maybe that momentum and that that excitement, if we do have a good start, could just take us through. And I think momentum's a very powerful thing in football. I'm
seeing comments in the chat saying he wanted Morgan Gibbs-White and got Javi, and he wanted Savio and got Tell. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, it's not like this is a Bastoni and Longley situation. We've got Javi Simmons starting for the Netherlands, one of the most sought after players in the last couple of years. Like, he's been brilliant. You know what I mean? He's a top player. And we're not even starting him, never mind utilising him and getting the best out of him. And let's be real, the stats behind Javi Simmons, regardless if you think his personal performance have been good, 9 games, 6 wins, 9 games, no wins without him.
Yeah, haven't won a game when he hasn't started since he's joined.
which is crazy. Just start him, man. That's what I say. Just start him. And also, like, when you're saying we didn't get Savio and got Tell, first of all, Tell joined before we even went for another left winger. And it's not exactly Savio is like pulling down any trees for Man City this season. He's been pretty shocking all season. So the attacking players that he's got at his disposal are good enough for what we want to be this season. And that is a top 6, top 7 team. So I'm not having it.
Well, and Frank's whole thing was also, I don't get this criticism of he just doesn't have the players. Like, Frank's whole thing was he works with what he's got, he develops a system with what he's got, he improves the players. And maybe, look, fair enough, maybe that all takes time, but we got to see evidence of that.
Yeah.
And if you're one of the people who does back Frank, then you should be backing Frank to improve the players. You shouldn't be saying they're all crap and we all need to get rid of them. You should be saying, okay, give Frank time to improve them and they'll start to get better. If you give Frank time to develop the relationships, do we did at Brentford, get play to their strengths, they'll get better. The argument shouldn't be Frank's failing because all these players are crap. The argument should be he needs time to make these players better. That should be the argument.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of bringing someone like Frank in. That was the whole selling point of him. He develops players. That's what he said as well recently. Like, I like to develop players. That's what,
And I do think that's true. I do think he does need time to develop. Like, development doesn't happen overnight. It's a long process. And when you're asking him to develop these young players, like all these people, I've heard people say like, oh, who has Frank developed so far? It's like he's not even been in the job half a season yet. How's he supposed to develop players?
Yeah, that's
so he
fair
does
enough.
need time to develop these players, 100%.
I agree, and people throw this. He had Mbeumo and Wissa and all these players at Brentford, but he improved all of them
Over a long spectrum of time.
Wissa came from League Two, the second division in sorry, not him. He came in from Rennes. He was like an average winger in Rennes, and he came in, and even in the Premier League, it took him about a couple of years to become the striker we see today. Even for the first season, he was like another average winger until he became this, striker. And Mbeumo came from the second division in France, and he had to grow him as well.
And it took him a while to grow in Mbeumo as well. It wasn't like a short thing.
Tony and Watkins both came from the EFL. Watkins was a winger when he bought him, like an average winger in the EFL, when he turned him into a monster striker. Tony as well came from the EFL. So all these players, for the starting point he got these players from, the players he's got now are a much higher starting point that he's got them. So he in theory, there's no reason why he can't develop them into a lot better players. And I agree with you in terms of improving them. It's gonna take time. However, I would like to think when it comes to halfway through a season, you should be seeing more signs of what we are seeing in terms. I'm not saying they should all be getting 20 goals a season already, but the problem is we're not even doing anything. And that should never be the case.
Yeah.
We should be doing a lot more than that. But I just don't get this argument from people who are blaming the players. Then you should be demanding Frank gets the better out of them. You shouldn't be just saying they're rubbish.
Yeah, I agree. Because look, the reality is at the end of the day, we do want better players at this football club ultimately. But just what I keep saying, I think people don't understand fully what we say when we back these players. It's not that we think that they're world beaters and we can win the league with these players, but what we think we should be doing a lot better than what we're doing with these players, and we should be, in the fight for Europe at least, Europa League. You know what I mean? With these players that we've got at our disposal, there's no reason why not.
Can't polish a turd. If we signed a winger from the French second division, people aren't going to say, oh, he's crap, he's rubbish, and look what he did with that. So. This Frank can improve players. We have seen it. And look, at the end of the day, when it comes to our conversation with the manager, as much as I'm struggling with him at the moment, I'm struggling to see what he's trying to do. We've gone this direction. We're going to have to give it time. We're going to have to hope he turns it around. Hopefully he starts to give us some evidence soon that with something we can go on. And if I see it, then I'll start to back him. I'll get excited. At the moment, the performances have been that bad. It's just, what can I even see to say that we're improving or things are going to turn around? At the moment, we're trending downwards. We're utter rubbish at the moment. That's just the reality. But it is 14 games. In the grand scheme of things, it is still early. As much as it's not nothing, it's still a decent sample size. But it is still 14 games in. He's still not even 6 months into his tenure. So maybe things can start to turn, but he's going to have to start. He needs to give the fans something to go on. Otherwise, the fans are just going to keep being disgruntled and frustrated and for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, having said all that, let's bloody hope, let's bloody pray for something better. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'll be there and I'll be cheering the boys on to the 3 points. Come on, we can do it, people. We can beat Brentford at home.
His job's not on the line, I don't think, this weekend, is it?
No, but I think come the turn of the year, if these results persist and continue, we got Nottingham Forest, I think it will be.
Yeah, I agree. I think even if we lose, it depends. If we get absolutely battered, then I guess really serious questions would be asked. But if it's a narrow loss or another stodgy performance, I think he'll probably still be in a job look for this period. I don't see us sacking a manager right now with all the games coming thick and fast. We're just going to give him that period, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think so as well. But things do need to turn, and you do need to get some belief back in the fan base, and that comes from showing what you're about. It comes from showing that you can get a team to create chances. You can get these players showing their best, because at the moment there is no evidence that he's creating a platform for these players to show their best. That's the main thing, and that's the most frustrating thing. So he needs something. He needs a big performance, and it'll be a timely performance. Yeah.
So let's hope we can get it. Obviously, Sim and Mr. Brian Daigle on the watch along for you this weekend. So tune in at 2:45 when they go live. And that is your match preview for Tottenham Brentford. We've just got a couple